Hi Cancer, this is Tisch Aitken, and this is your monthly report for the month of June. We are in eclipse season, major turning points, major endings and beginnings occurring for all of us. Mercury is now retrograde as we begin the month of June in the sign that it rules. The moon rules your sign, and being in eclipse season, many revelations, many major endings and beginnings, and eclipses often bring huge revelations in our lives and make us see things in a way we've never seen before. And again, you as any sign know the power of the moon. And so as we begin the month, we have 4 planets transiting in the mutable air sign of Gemini, in your 12th house of the imagination and the subconscious mind. Mercury is retrograde as we begin the month. It retrograded on May 30th and will be retrograde until June 22nd. And it's telling a lot of tales because we already have had a lunar eclipse at the end of May on the 26th, which is a powerful total lunar eclipse at 5 degrees and 27 minutes of Sagittarius. And that eclipse occurs in your 6th house of health and daily routine and work. It could bring projects you've been working on to completion, but realistically it's a lunar eclipse. Venus is out of bounds, meaning very emotional and not adhering to the rules. When a planet is out of bounds, it exceeds the sun's declination. And so Venus has been out of bounds since May 18th, and it will be until June 18th. Actually, May 23rd, sorry, until June 18th. So that's going on. Mercury's retrograde, giving us a lot of information. And eclipses are a time where you know a lot's going to happen, but it's like a wild card. You know what area the eclipse is occurring. There will be a lot of activity there. There's a heightened sense of anxiety, and it's a very busy period, but often major beginnings and endings and change in a very rapid manner. So that we're all experiencing. And with a lot of Gemini, 4 planets as we begin the month, that's bringing a lot of mutability and choices. Jupiter is transiting in a fellow water sign in the sign of Pisces, in your house of hope and manifesting and optimism, as is Neptune, which is the ruler of Pisces. Jupiter rules Pisces by ancient astrology, so it is technically in its dignity, but there is a lot of mutability in the beginning of June, meaning that each of us can go in many different ways. A lot of decisions and choices in eclipse period. The eclipses are in the Sagittarius Gemini axis, and so a lot with that. So on June 2nd, Venus, which is the planet of love and money and what you value, enters your sign, and it will be in Cancer until June 27th. This is excellent. It makes you extra magnetic and glamorous. It's also good for doing deals in business and for dealing with others, for forming partnerships and relationships in any capacity. So that's a nice thing. On the 3rd of June, the Sun trines Saturn at 3:05 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and the Sun is transiting in your 12th house of the imagination, and Saturn is transiting in your 8th house of death and renewal and joint resources. That's where you're really focusing the next couple of years with Saturn. But that's a very positive energy for doing manifesting work. Maybe you're trying to get your finances in order, and that's a nice energy. Later that day, we have the 2 benefics in harmony. Venus, the planet of love and desire, is still, well, it's in your sign actually, and it forms a beautiful trine to Jupiter, the luckiest planet, which is transiting in your house of hope and manifesting. Manifest what you want. That could be good for romance, for money, for feeling happy and abundant. So very nice energy. On the 5th of June, we have more challenging energy because Mercury, which is again retrograde and very tricky in Gemini, although it's in its dignity, there can be many stories with Mercury and Gemini. It squares Neptune at 3:05 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Later that day, Mars, which has been transiting in your sign since April 23rd, opposes Pluto at 3:45 p.m. and that is a combative aspect. Those are the two rulers of Scorpio, and that can definitely be contentious energy. So lay low if you're able. On June 10th, we have a big day because there is a solar eclipse that takes place at 6:53 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and it occurs at 19 degrees and 47 minutes of the mutable air sign of Gemini. And this takes place in your house of imagination and dreams. Really focus on what you want to initiate. You are ruled by the moon rather. And a solar eclipse occurs when the moon perfectly aligns itself between the earth and the sun and blocks off the light to the sun's surface. And it brings things to light. It's not necessarily an ideal time for launching things on the day of an eclipse unless something comes in out of the blue where you have no choice. Often things do with eclipses. It can bring dramatic change and news and opportunities as well. But nonetheless, with this, focus on what you want to begin this summer, what you want to initiate, and remember this is falling in your house of dreams. And what kind of dream do you want to manifest in this new age of Aquarius? Jupiter is temporarily in Pisces until July 29th in your house of manifesting. Fellow water sign, very harmonious with your own. Really focus on the dream. The solar eclipse is also triggering where Neptune has been since 2019 and 2020 because it was going back and forth but approximately between 18 degrees and 20 degrees of the mutable water sign of Pisces. So we all may get more information about where Neptune's been in the last couple of years. And it definitely, eclipses are very revelatory and uncover hidden information, particularly when Neptune is involved. So the eclipse itself occurs at 6:53 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Later in the morning, the moon meets up with Mercury at 8:37 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. This gives more information and helps us process and translate the messages of the eclipse. At 1:38 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the moon goes void of course with a square to Neptune. And this enhances or exaggerates more of the Neptunian theme of confusion or deception being uncovered, but also encourages you to really do some manifesting work and spiritual work. Connect to source. It's your best use of this energy. Later that day at 9:13 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the sun meets up with Mercury, giving us more news. Then on the 11th of June, Mars exits your sign and enters the sign of Leo, where it will be until July 29th. And it's transiting in your house of income, how you earn money, what you value, and how you spend money. So it could be a lot of money coming in and going out, but it could be an excellent opportunity for earning money. So that will be a big focus with Mars. And then on the 12th of June, we have Venus squaring Chiron, the wounded healer. Venus is in your sign in the first house of self, squaring Chiron in Aries. And this could bring a sense of wounds around your ego or identity. Perhaps there are issues around career that you're dealing with, but it's a good opportunity to process and feel the wounds. All of us are feeling it in the time that we're in. Later that day, around 10:38 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, or early in the morning on June 13th at 1:38 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Venus forms a helpful sextile to Uranus, which is transiting in Taurus. And this is Uranus is transiting in your house of wishes and friends and groups. And that could be a good opportunity for solutions, for finding solutions regarding your financial issues or emotional or relationship issues. But realistically, those few days right by the eclipse are going to be challenging, because at 7:40 p.m. the sun, Eastern Daylight Time, the sun squares Neptune, and that can bring more confusion and heavy emotions. So we know this is going to be an emotional month, but a lot of change and a lot of opportunity. Again, the solar eclipse is in your house of dreams. Do not forget the dream. Jupiter is in the sign of dreams. Keep manifesting. On the 14th of June, we have a big event because Saturn is going to square Uranus at 6:01 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. This is the second time the two have squared one another in the sky. The first being on February 17th, when the big power outage occurred in Texas. This time they square one another at 13 degrees of Aquarius and Taurus. Saturn is transiting in Aquarius in your house of joint resources, death, renewal, and rebirth and empowerment until March 7th of 2023. So it is having you take a realistic look at your finances, at your investments, and how you deal with loss and with rebirthing yourself. Uranus is transiting in Taurus in your house of friends and groups and networking, which is a great opportunity for meeting new people. But there could be issues on that date, certainly for all of us. We know with the first time it hit, there was an explosiveness with this. Uranus can definitely bring explosive energy, and it's unpredictable. So we have it metaphorically and literally that can be chaotic energy. And they are the rulers of Aquarius. Saturn rules Aquarius in ancient astrology and Uranus in modern astrology. So there will be the need to contain the chaos and structure in the new age of Aquarius, which we're all figuring out how we can do this. It's not easy. And then on the 20th of June, it's a big deal because for two reasons. So Jupiter, which is the grand benefic, stations retrograde at 2 degrees of Pisces at 11:06 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Jupiter will be in Pisces until July 29th, and then it will re-enter Aquarius until December 29th of this year. Later that day, we have the summer solstice and the beginning of Cancer season at 11:32 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And that occurs when the sun is at its maximum declination in the sky. And in the northern hemisphere, it marks the longest day of the year and the beginning of summer. And in the southern hemisphere, it's at its lowest point and it begins the winter season. And it's a time to really honor what the next few months are going to be, what you want to commence and bring into your life. And now it's your birthday season. You have Venus still in your sign. Venus is out of bounds all month, well, until the 18th of June. So we have Venus acting erratic and unpredictable. Mars had its round for a while, being out of bounds. Now the feminine energy is acting erratic and a bit uncontrollable. But now you have Venus and the sun in your sign. So this is excellent, and it's your birthday season. On the 21st of June, Venus forms a beautiful trine to Neptune. And this is excellent for love, excellent for money, and excellent for feeling good. On the 22nd of June, we have the sun trining Jupiter early in the day, and the sun is in your sign, trining Jupiter, the luckiest planet, and that's very optimistic and manifesting energy. But realistically, there's going to be there will be challenges, there will be breakups or power struggles, because Venus in your sign opposes Pluto, which is transiting in Capricorn in your house of partnerships. So that's a day that has kind of good energy and definitely more challenging. I'd say the latter aspect is the heavier of the two. And then on the, let's see here, on the 24th of June, we have a full moon that takes place at 2:40 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And the full moon occurs at 3 degrees and 28 minutes of the cardinal earth sign of Capricorn. And this full moon speaks back to the solar eclipse that took place on December 26th of 2019 in your house of relationships. It was a South Node eclipse. There were definitely endings with that because South Node urges us to release things. And this full moon may bring more information or completion to that eclipse story for you. And I neglected to say a big deal also is on the 22nd of June, we have Mercury stationing direct at 16 degrees of Gemini at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And that is helpful for all of us. And for you, it's in your house of the imagination and spirituality. Mercury will remain in Gemini until July 11th, and it's in its dignity. It's a very strong placement, but again, it's giving us all a lot of stories and a lot of information, and I would pay attention to those themes. And then on the 25th of June, Neptune stations retrograde at 11:32 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time at 23 degrees of the mutable water sign of Pisces. And we feel that station 5 days before and 5 days after, and that is a big deal. And the same, we just had Jupiter station retrograde on the summer solstice, and we feel that energy 5 days before and 5 days after. So now 2 planets stationing retrograde in Pisces, enhancing a lot of Neptunian energy. And obviously the eclipses working with Neptune. We have Neptune aspects in the month of June. Venus is out of bounds until the 18th of June. You can expect it to be a very busy but emotional month, a lot getting uncovered. And with the Neptune station, things could be very confusing. Again, things could get brought to light because we're clearing out all of the stories and revelations and changes that will get incurred by the eclipses. And it's a big deal. Heavy month for all of us. And then on June 27th, Venus exits your sign and enters the fixed fire sign of Leo, where it will be until July 21st, transiting in your house of income and how you earn money. It's a big month. You're a very emotional water sign, very nurturing and sensitive. Take care of yourself. Definitely focus on doing manifesting work and paying attention to all of the messages that will surface with this eclipse in your house of the subconscious mind and dreams. Do not forget the dream, Cancer. Thank you.